The banana you ate this morning does not exist in nature. Not really. It cannot reproduce on its own. It has no seeds. Every single banana of the variety sitting in every supermarket on Earth right now is a genetic clone, an identical copy of a single plant propagated by cutting and replanting for decades across millions of acres of tropical farmland. And because every banana is genetically identical, a single fungus that learns to attack one of them can attack all of them simultaneously everywhere at the same time. That is not a hypothetical. It already happened once. It wiped out the banana that the entire world was eating before this one. And the fungus that is coming for the Cavendish, the banana in your kitchen right now, already spreading across 3 continents. So before we talk about what is coming, we need to talk about what was lost. And before that, we need to go back to where this whole story started, in the jungles of Southeast Asia 10,000 years ago. Wild bananas are nothing like what you buy at the store. They are small, starchy, packed with hard black seeds, and barely edible without cooking. But humans living across the river valleys of what is now Papua New Guinea and the surrounding islands were cultivating them as far back as 8,000 years before the Common Era, selectively breeding out the seeds and developing softer, sweeter flesh over thousands of generations. By around 3,000 years before the Common Era, domesticated bananas had spread through Southeast Asia and into India. Arab traders carried them west to the African continent. Portuguese sailors brought them to the Americas in the early 16th century. By the time Europeans began systematically colonizing the tropics, the banana was already a global crop with thousands of years of cultivation history behind it, but it was not yet an industrial product. That transformation required a very specific combination of technology, greed, and political violence. In the late 19th century, American entrepreneurs discovered that bananas could be grown cheaply in the tropical lowlands of Central America, shipped north by steamboat, and sold in American cities at prices ordinary working families could afford. 2 companies rose to dominate this business. The Boston Fruit Company and the Tropical Trading and Transport Company eventually merged in 1899 to form the United Fruit Company. And the United Fruit Company proceeded to do something that no agricultural corporation had quite managed on this scale before. It built a private empire. Not a metaphorical empire, a literal. In Honduras, Guatemala, Costa Rica, and Colombia, the United Fruit Company owned the railways. It owned the telegraph lines. It owned the port facilities. It owned the land. Enormous swaths of it, acquired through deals with local governments that gave the company tax exemptions and legal protections that no citizen of those countries enjoyed. At its peak, United Fruit controlled more usable land in Central America than most of the governments it operated alongside. It was, by any practical measure, more powerful than the states it inhabited. And when those states produced governments that tried to change the arrangement, United Fruit did what empires do. It hauled in reinforcements. In 1954, the democratically elected president of Guatemala, Jacobo Arbenz, announced a land reform program that would redistribute unused agricultural land, including land that the United Fruit Company was sitting on but not cultivating, to landless Guatemalan farmers. United Fruit lobbied the United States government aggressively, framing the reform as communist infiltration in the Western Hemisphere. The Eisenhower administration authorized a CIA operation called Operation PB Success that orchestrated the overthrow of Arbenz and replaced his government with a military dictatorship. Decades of political violence followed in Guatemala, a civil war that killed an estimated 200,000 people, all of it traceable, in part, to a fruit company protecting its banana plantations. The term Banana Republic, still used today as casual shorthand for a corrupt or unstable small nation, was coined specifically to describe the countries that the United Fruit Company had politically captured in order to grow and export banana. Every time someone uses that phrase without knowing where it came from, they are unknowingly referencing one of the most brutal episodes of corporate political interference in modern history. But here is the part that almost nobody knows about. The banana that United Fruit was growing, shipping, and selling during all of this was not the banana you eat today. It was a completely different variety called the Gros Michel. And by almost every account from people who ate it, the Gros Michel was dramatically better than anything currently available. Thicker skin, longer shelf life, creamier texture, and a sweeter, more intense flavor than the Cavendish that replaced it. Artificial banana flavoring, the kind you find in banana candy and banana-flavored snacks, tastes nothing like a modern Cavendish banana, but tastes remarkably close to a Gros Michel, because that artificial flavor was developed when the Gros Michel was the standard, and nobody thought that would ever change. Then, Panama disease arrived. Panama disease is caused by a soil fungus called Fusarium Oxysporum cubans, and it attacks the root systems of banana plants, cutting off their ability to absorb water and nutrients. Because every Gros Michel banana on every plantation was genetically identical, the fungus could spread from plant to plant across an entire plantation and then an entire country without encountering any natural resistance. By the 1950s, Panama disease had swept through plantation after plantation across Central America and the Caribbean. The Gros Michel was commercially finished. The United Fruit Company and its competitors scrambled for an alternative, settled on the...
But here, the problem is that the reason the Gros Michel died is the exact same reason the Cavendish is now threatened. It is a clone. Every Cavendish banana on Earth shares identical genetic material. There is no variation, no natural resistance in the population to novel threats, because there is no population in the biological sense. There is just one plant, copied billions of times. And in the 1990s, a new strain of the same fungus that killed the Gros Michel emerged in Southeast Asia. Scientists call it tropical race 4, or TR4. Unlike the original Panama disease strain, TR4 can infect the Cavendish. It has been spreading steadily through banana-growing regions in Asia, Australia, the Middle East, Africa, and, as of recent years, Latin America, which is where the majority of the world's export bananas are grown. TR4 has no cure. Once it is established in the soil of a plantation, it remains there for decades. Infected soil cannot be treated and replanted with new bananas. Only current response is to destroy infected plants, try to contain the spread, and move on. Scientists are working on developing resistant variety through genetic modification and conventional breeding programs, but nothing is yet available at commercial scale. The industry is hoping to find a solution before TR4 reaches the major growing regions of Latin America in force. It is not clear whether they will.
There is something almost darkly funny about how this story loops back on itself. A corporation helped overthrow a democratic government to protect banana monoculture plantations. That monoculture made the crop genetically fragile. The genetic fragility allowed a fungus to destroy the entire commercial variety. The industry replaced it with a new variety and rebuilt the same monoculture system with the new banana. And now a new fungus is threatening to do exactly what the last one did. The banana industry has learned the commercial lesson of the Gros Michel, which is that you cannot grow one thing everywhere and expect it to survive indefinitely. It simply has not yet figured out what to replace that lesson with. Growing genetically diverse bananas at commercial scale is genuinely difficult. Different varieties ripen at different rates, ship differently, and taste different from what consumers expect. The Cavendish is not just a banana. At this point, it is a standardized global product that entire supply chains are built around. Changing it means changing almost everything downstream. The banana sitting on your counter or in your fruit bowl right now is the most consumed fruit on Earth. More than 100 billion are produced annually. In many developing countries, it is not a snack or a convenience food, but a primary caloric staple, without which real food insecurity would follow. It is cheap because of the plantation system. It is available everywhere because of the shipping networks the banana companies built, partly through the political arrangements they extracted from the governments of countries that had no meaningful power to refuse them. It is the specific variety it is because a fungus destroyed the previous one, and this was the best available substitute. And it is potentially temporary for exactly the same reason the Gros Michel was temporary, because underneath the cheerful yellow exterior of the most ordinary fruit in the world is a crop that is biologically as fragile as it is commercially dumb. The next time you peel one, it is worth taking a second to think about everything that had to go wrong and right and wrong again to put it in your head. If this is the kind of history you are here for, subscribe and leave a comment telling me which part surprised you most. There was a lot more where this came from.